So, the mysterious individual who goes by Austin Steinbart told us over this past year that there would soon arise a type of technology considered a clean and renewable energy source that could decrease our reliance on fossil fuels. Days ago, that technology was finally revealed, being ISA's quantum flux transformer. This presentation you're watching is going to be a basic investigation into what's publicly available about the technology. And I can tell you from what I've seen so far, I might be covering this tech as a topic in higher budget videos in the future. So before reading Austin's thread, what I'm going to do is take you to the YouTube channel and we'll watch an introductory video, following that with a validation study.
I think we can all agree that the future should be sustainable. However, fossil fuels tend to remain cheaper and more profitable than clean energy. The reason for this is more sustainable solutions like solar and wind only produce power some of the time. If we're going to solve the world's energy problem, it's obvious we need a solution that is on all the time and does not rely on old infrastructure to deliver power to the new infrastructure. My name is Jared Gobler, and I'm the president of ESA. Over the last 8 years, we have focused on building a new solution that delivers energy on demand and at the source of consumption.
Our mission is to solve the world's energy problem. We develop new sources of power that enable our customers to become energy independent. After nearly a decade of research, we've discovered a new way to harness the ambient energy all around us as a source of usable electric power. That said, we're going to transition into a demonstration of our quantum energy technology presented by our founder and CEO, Hunter Bjork. Today we're going to be giving you a demonstration of our quantum flux transformer technology. We'll take this demonstration in 3 separate sections as to simplify and help educate you on how this system works. First, we'll talk about the physics of why this technology works, how it functions. Next, we'll talk about each piece of equipment that we have hooked up here, why we use that piece of equipment and what it does. And then third, we'll fire up the system, we'll show you its performance and ability to generate clean electrical power. So first, let's talk a little bit about the physics at hand here and how this technology works. This technology is really a unique way and methodology of harnessing the ambient energy that exists all around us in space. Now, the vacuum of space contains a vast amount of energy. Actually, the majority of energy in the universe exists in the vacuum. To be exact, about 68% of the energy in our universe we can't see, we can't observe it, but exists all around us. So it'd be pretty amazing if we were able to tap into that and use it as a source of electrical power. And with this technology, we've been able to do just that. Now, this system works on a very unique effect of magnetism, whereby magnetic fields are piezomagnetic naturally. And so what that means is that when we generate an electromagnetic field and we apply stress to it, the field will respond, self-organize, and increase in density. Now, we found in our research over the last 8+ years that during these piezomagnetic reactions, magnetism has this very unique effect where it has the ability to harvest this ambient energy that exists all around us and utilize it as a means to fight back against that stress. So magnetism does all the work for us to harvest that energy during these piezomagnetic reactions. And what we've done here is build a system that is designed to apply the maximum amount of stress to the magnetic field, causing that piezomagnetic reaction. Now, if we take a look at our transformer, you can see that we have a very unique vortex coil design that we're utilizing. The reason we're using this specific design is really to cause a magnetic field that has a singularity, where all the lines of flux meet at a central location in the middle of the torus. We refer to that as a magnetic singularity, where it's not a real singularity like a gravitational one, like we would observe in space, such as a black hole, but it is an artificial and imitation of a black hole using a magnetic field. Now, that singularity in the center of the torus is a point of extreme magnetic compression. Again, our goal here is to cause a piezomagnetic reaction so that we can increase the density of this field and harvest that additional shift in density as additive electricity in the output circuit. So that singularity, that point of compression, is our introduced stress. And if we have stress on a magnetic field, we therefore can increase its density as it will self-organize and harvest additional energy that is already existing all around us.
So I asked Grok 4.5, a new variant of it, to break down some of these concepts. So restated, I asked it, If in an electromagnetic torus, a point of maximal magnetic stress can somehow be created in the center of it, that can potentially result in a so-called piezomagnetic effect that is self-organizing and strengthening the field. So here's Grock's breakdown. A torus is a donut-shaped geometry, and magnetic fields can be arranged in this toroidal configuration. So examples would include the tokamak fusion reactor, toroidal inductors transformers, the Earth's magnetosphere. In a pure toroidal magnetic field, field lines form closed loops that circle around the donut's tube. Geometry can create interesting field concentrations or nulls depending on how the currents for magnets are arranged. Magnetic stress refers to the mechanical forces and energy density associated with magnetic field from the Maxwell stress tensor. Magnetic pressure is roughly proportional to this formula given. In certain toroidal or multipole arrangements, the field configuration can produce a region of high magnetic pressure stress or a strong gradient at or near geometric center. Presentation claims that this central high stress point can be engineered or naturally arise. The piezomagnetic effect refers to linear coupling between mechanical strain and magnetization. It is the magnetic analog of piezoelectricity. As an aside, I first came across the piezoelectric concept with orgone many years ago. It's the concept of a copper coil wrapped around a crystal, resulting in a piezoelectric moment within the crystal. Given that this is thought to be a type of free energy technology, I think that's quite an interesting coincidence. So to describe the effect of this linear coupling, you would get an induction or change in a magnetic moment by applying mechanical stress. Applying a magnetic field can produce a mechanical strain related to but distinct from ordinary magnetostriction. Grock has special comment about the concept of self-organization and strengthening of the field. Grock says, this is speculative key claim of the presentation. The proposed feedback loop is roughly, the toroidal electromagnetic arrangement creates a region of maximal magnetic stress, a high beta or high magnetic pressure gradient at the center. The magnetic stress mechanically strains any piezomagnetic material present in that region. The strain, via the piezomagnetic effect, induces or reorients magnetic moments. The newly induced or reoriented magnetization contributes additional magnetic field that reinforces the original toroidal configuration. So stronger field leads to higher central stress, leads to more strain, leads to more magnetization, leads to even stronger field, a positive feedback loop that self-organizes and amplifies the overall field. In other words, the system is claimed to bootstrap itself into a more ordered, stronger magnetic state. And so now we address how plausible this is. Toroidal magnetic fields are real and well studied. Magnetic stress pressure and Maxwell stress tensor are standard. Piezomagnetism and related magnetorestriction, Villari effect, are real. Usually, they're weak and limited to specific materials. Magnetoelastic coupling can produce interesting domain rearrangements and feedback in some materials. What is more speculative? Creating a true point of maximal magnetic stress is both intense enough and properly located to drive useful piezomagnetic response is non-trivial. Posing a strong positive feedback loop that self-organizes and significantly strengthens the field would require the piezomagnetic coefficient, the material's mechanical properties, and the field geometry to be carefully matched. In ordinary materials, the effect is usually small. Large amplification would need special conditions, either high piezomagnetic coefficients, low damping, resonant or carefully biased operating point, etc. Claims of spontaneous self-organization and field strengthening often appear fringe, free energy, or advanced propulsion energy concepts. They are not part of mainstream accepted technology for generating strong self-sustaining magnetic fields. Okay, so now we'll take a look at some of the materials used.
Here we have a standard off-the-shelf signal generator. You can think of this as kind of like our musical instrument. It allows us to produce any kind of waveform. We can pulse that waveform, and we can produce that at different kinds of voltages. Now we use that to produce a signal that then runs out of our signal generator into our waveform amplifier. Now what a waveform amplifier does is exactly what it sounds like. It takes that waveform and it turns the volume up. It boosts or amplifies that signal. So you can think of this as kind of like an amplifier. If you were to plug your guitar into it, you can turn up the volume. So we're just boosting the amount of energy that's coming out of our signal generator via our waveform amplifier. Now we are running this system in a DC configuration. So the positive and negative leads coming off of our waveform amplifier are then connected to two more pieces of equipment. Next, you'll see that our positive lead is fed into what's called a rheostat. Now what a rheostat is simply a variable resistor. It does, again, exactly what it sounds like. It adds resistance to the circuit. So it resists the electrical current flowing through our circuit and is really there as a safety precaution. One of the unique effects of this technology is the fact that it produces energy in two different directions. So as we are producing output, there's actually energy running backwards through the input, and rather than it short-circuiting our very expensive waveform amplifier, we have this little bit of resistance to prevent that energy from hurting or damaging our equipment. So it's just there as a safety precaution. From there, we have the energy continuing to go through our circuit, where we're running it into the input side of our coil. And then on the output side of our coil, we have a positive and negative lead that are running into a 5 microfarad AC capacitor. This capacitor just allows us to smooth out the output as well as to put the coil into resonance. It's not meant to be an energy storage piece. Now, moving on from the initial circuit here, you'll see that we have one more piece of equipment here, which is called an oscilloscope, or scope for short. Now, what an oscilloscope is pretty much just an advanced multimeter. It allows us to read electrical voltages and electrical currents via probes that are connected to the scope. Down below, you'll see that we have 4 individual probes that are connected to our oscilloscope, and that those probes are then connected to our transformer, so that we can take readings off of the device and see its performance. So you'll notice that these probes are connected and color codified to our scope, where we're taking a voltage reading on the input side of the coil. We're also taking a current reading off a current probe on the input side of the coil, so that we can see the voltage and current on the input of our system. Now we have the exact same thing on the output side of the coil, where we have the ability to read the voltage and the current coming off of the system, all together allowing us to read both voltage and current on the input and output, and thereby allowing us to calculate the real power, which we codify in watts, where that would be voltage times current. So our oscilloscope will read all those measurements for us, calculate the wattages for the input and output, giving us a very detailed look at the performance of the system. So now we're going to perform a live test of our quantum flux transformer. So we're going to start by firing up each piece of equipment, and we'll show you exactly the performance of our system. So we'll turn on our signal generator, turn on our waveform amplifier, make sure our probes are live, and also power up our oscilloscope. If we take a look at our chart, you'll notice that the input voltage on channel 1 is approximately 10 volts. Below that, you'll see that our output voltage on channel 3 is 22 volts, which is 2 times the amount of voltage in the system. Now, traditionally, one-to-one transformers, voltage would stay the same. However, most transformers do have the ability to step up voltage, and that's not necessarily anomalous. However, in this case, technically speaking, we should have seen the voltage stay the same, but because of this unique geometry, we do see an amplification in voltage. What is more unique about this system is the amplification of current, where if you see the input amps on channel 2, we have approximately 420 milliamps running into the system, and on channel 4, on the output amps, we have 1.5 amps coming out. So we have about 3 times more current coming out of the system than what it's utilizing. And because we have both an amplification of voltage and current happening simultaneously, we therefore have an amplification of watts, whereby the system is using 1.3 watts of input power and generating 9.3 watts of output power, which is approximately 7 to 8 times more power out than what the system is using. Now, if you were to ask a traditional electrical engineer, they would say that is fundamentally impossible and breaks the laws of physics. Now, we know that this technology is well within the bounds of physics, whereas we cannot create energy nor can we destroy energy, and technically speaking, you can't get more out of something than what you put into it, even though that's what we see here. The reason that we see this kind of result in effect, however, is simply that we are harvesting energy that already exists all around us and pulling it into a circuit so that it is demonstrated as additive electrical output and allowing us to generate power.
So in an attempt to cross-validate these claims, I placed a screenshot of the oscilloscope readings from a demonstration of the device into Grok and simply asked it to describe what it was seeing to me. And so given what you've heard so far, you'll likely find its answer to be quite fascinating. So my prompt, here is a screenshot of a device measuring the function of a type of generator. Based on these readings, what can be inferred about the generator? Grok then produces a table. The screenshot shows oscilloscope or power analyzer measurements of an electrical device under test with both electrical input and output quantities, plus a phase measurement and waveform view of the input voltage. And it just creates the table showing the associated values and channels, what can be inferred? Significant power gain, output greater than input. Output is roughly 13.3 times higher than the input power, 17.75 watts versus 1.33 watts. A passive device, transformer, passive filter, cannot produce more electrical power than it receives. The large excess power on the output side must come from an external energy source. This is the classic signature of a true generator. Most commonly, an electromechanical generator, converting mechanical energy into electrical energy. The small input electrical power is consistent with field excitation power or a controlled drive circuit, while the bulk of the output power comes from the mechanical prime mover. So Grok notes there's a voltage step-up of approximately 2 times. The generator roughly doubles the voltage from input to output. You have a large current step-up 8 times, and so it shows the ratio of output to input amps. The current increases substantially, which when combined with the voltage increase produces the observed power gain. Then it says, nearly unity power factor on the output. The phase angle between output voltage and output current is only 4.65 degrees. The load is essentially resistive. Reactive power is negligible. So I asked Grok to break down point 4. Nearly unity power factor. The power factor describes how effectively the electrical power delivered by the generator is being used by the load. It is defined as power factor equals cosine phi, where phi is the phase angle in degrees between the voltage waveform and the current waveform. So the output phase angle phase plugged in equals 0.997, very close to 1, called the unity power factor. We would say that it is extremely close to that ideal, meaning the output is operating at nearly a unity power factor. When a power factor is nearly 1, almost all of the apparent power, volts times amps, is converted into real usable power. Very little energy is wasted, circulating back and forth as reactive power. For a generator of this is desirable. It means the load is not forcing the generator to supply large amounts of useless reactive current. Some examples are provided here. Pure resistive load, unity PF. A simple electric heater or incandescent light bulb is almost purely resistive. Voltage and current rise and fall together with phi approximately equal to 0 degrees. The power factor is essentially 1.0. The generator or wall outlet only has to supply real power that is turned into heat or light. This situation is closest to what the screenshot shows. Example 2, inductive load, lagging PF. An unloaded induction motor or a large transformer has significant inductance. Current lags voltage by 30 degrees to 80 degrees or more. The power factor might drop to 0.5 to 0.8. The generator must supply extra current that does no useful work. It only creates the magnetic field. You would see much larger phase angle readings, 40 to 60, on instrument. Example 4, mixed real-world load. A typical office building or a factory often runs at a power factor of approximately 0.85 to 0.95 because of motors, fluorescent blasts, and electronics. Utilities sometimes charge penalties for low power factor precisely because generators and transformers must be oversized to handle the extra reactive current. 0.997 reading on your screenshot is far better than most real installations. Key. That's very key. In a YouTube video titled Technical Validation Study on the ESA channel, we are introduced to a validator.
I have a PhD in systems engineering from the University of Pennsylvania, and I have spent the last 30 years in the sustainability and innovation arena.
Dr. Marianne Langridge, founder and CEO of Sustainable Synthesis. So here we have Dr. Langridge's LinkedIn account. Just looking at the most interesting part of her professional history, she was Senior Vice President of CDM Smith, led the Enterprise Programs Office to facilitate alignment of strategic initiatives across the firm, including research and development programs and ER programs. She did that for 20 years in Boston. So I'll play a section of the validation study.
The second experiment, powering a light bulb, was probably the most jaw-dropping for me. It was just so obvious that this device was outputting more energy than was coming in, and there was something to show for it, right, by the bright light bulb. And I really think that for the purposes of this study, just having someone who's been able to see it documented, the approach I took was documenting like I was in grad school and I was running a bench experiment in a lab, right? It was really just, here's the facts, here's what happened, here what came in, what came out.
So looking at Austin's post, I'll read. The space around you isn't empty. At the quantum level, it's filled with energy. Roughly 68% of all energy in the universe exists in a vacuum. ESA, quantum flux transformer, harvests energy from empty space itself. It uses a specially wound toroidal coil that forces magnetic field lines into a single point at its center, creating what they call a magnetic singularity, When the magnetic field is compressed in this way, it self-organizes and begins to pull in ambient quantum energy from the vacuum to resist stress. This energy is then converted into usable electricity in the output circuit. You can start the system with one small initial charge. It immediately produces significantly more power than it consumes. A portion of the excess output is fed back into the input, allowing the system to power itself. As this feedback loop continues, the magnetic field grows stronger and the output keeps increasing. Within minutes, the device becomes self-sustaining and produces stable electricity with no ongoing external power source. The quantum Flux transformer unit is roughly the size of a small appliance. It's built using standard copper coils and common off-the-shelf components. No rare earth materials or exotic materials are needed. ESA has spent nearly a decade developing the technology through thousands of experiments. Working prototypes have been validated by independent engineers. When this technology reaches scale, energy gets dramatically cheaper. Household electric bills go away. Water scarcity becomes solvable through desalination. Electric cars can have unlimited range. Manufacturing can go anywhere. Communities that have never had reliable power finally get it. Oil and gas will still have their places. They stop being the thing that the entire world depends on, and the stranglehold that gives certain companies and countries over everyone else loosens for good. So then Austin talks about the methods of preventing transformative technologies from entering the marketplace, which includes regulatory lawfare, litigation, media campaigns, acquisition, sabotage, assassinations. He provides an example. A few years ago, an oil company tried to acquire ESA. When a company refused to sell, the oil company allegedly used its government connections to trigger a regulatory investigation through Arizona's ACC, with the apparent goal of running up legal costs and forcing the company into a distressed sale. This kind of pushback makes sense when you consider what's at stake. A working fuel-free generator would directly threaten the $5 to $7 trillion global fossil fuel industry, along with the oil majors, petrostates, utility monopolies, and financial institutions that depend on it. The only way to protect a technology this disruptive from being killed by incumbent establishments is public momentum so large it becomes politically impossible to suppress. Ripple survived because highly engaged stakeholders from all walks of life went hard in the paint and made it politically challenging to mess with. Quantum energy needs the same thing. It needs so many people aware of it, invested in it, and demanding it, that no amount of lobbying, litigation, or regulatory sabotage can put it back in the box. You have to ape it into this existence, because if we wait quietly, it will most certainly get buried. Share this, talk about it. Don't let it be quiet enough to kill. So a nice thread by Austin, and I replied with this image. It's a type of coil that I have that's very similar. On his website, keylifestore.com, you'll find these key coil devices that are intended to provide specific resonant frequencies to help certain ailments. Interestingly, the video was uploaded July the 4th, and so you can argue that this is the day of free energy declaration, where this new quantum technology is introduced to the world, declaring independence from the energy limitation paradigm that the whole world has operated under up to this point. There is a web link, easenergy.com. On there, you have an opportunity to pre-order and reserve your free Flux TM, Energy Independence in a Box, shown here with an infinity sign. That's a big deal, guys. It's an infinity sign. We're building a quantum energy generator that is affordable, sustainable, and decentralized, designed for homes, communities, and data centers. The power output will be between 10 kilowatts and 30 kilowatts. Here's an example of a power bill, British Columbia. So if you're charged approximately 11 cents per kilowatt hour and you consume 1,600 kilowatt hours, you're looking at a cost of $185, looking at a 62-day cost of $317 for 2,167 kilowatt hours. Now, going to the pre-order page for the ESA quantum energy generator, it does promise to deliver between 10 to 30 kilowatts, but it doesn't really say over what time interval. So I'm not sure if it's like per month or per year or what exactly. The corporate structure of ESA itself is a public benefit corporation, a legal structure that reinforces commitment to building a company guided by both purpose and performance. It pursues not only profit, but also a measurable positive impact on society and the environment. On the government page, the website provides several numbers, including a DUNS number. And as far as what these U.S. business identification and classification codes mean, I have it up on the screen here. You can pause and read if you like. So overall, I would say I definitely like what I'm seeing here. We do have to determine if we trust the technical validator to provide an unbiased assessment. Her report should be coming soon. The one concern I have goes to Austin's point of this technology affecting the current status quo. It appears the founders of the technology are named, and I feel the location of technology can be deduced. So it would seem that contracting a security service and having personal bodyguards is a must, as I expect there are so many malign interests who are incentivized to prevent such a technology from coming to the world. If you'd like to be a part of positive change for this world, you can apply to join Team ESA. This is under the section esaenergy.com careers. If you enjoyed this presentation, please like, comment, and give a follow on my X account or my YouTube, wherever you're watching this. I really appreciate it. you sharing this content would indeed be a type of participation in a quest to change this world.